This video is brought to you by CapBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
The NBA is a unique league that attracts both players and fans from all around the world. And although the league has been around for a little over 70 years, many people still don't know their favorite players as well as they think they do. A majority of NBA players are extremely creative. Even the most ordinary of players have some interesting, unique, and unusual facts about them. Today we take a look at the weirdest NBA player facts you probably didn't know exist. Welcome to NBA Insider. Cleveland Cavaliers captain and NBA superstar LeBron James is an ambidextrous. Now you're probably wondering what this means. Ambidexterity is the ability to use both the left and the right hand equally. It is also a condition that sometimes allows you to use both of them at the same time. Only about 1% of people are naturally ambidextrous, which makes LeBron a one-of-a-kind player. Although LeBron is mostly a dominant player with his right hand, he still eats, writes, and signs autographs with his left hand. LeBron James obviously shoots with his right hand, which is a good thing for his defenders, but his condition makes me wonder if he could be much more dominant if he was able to play with both. Because if he actually started playing basketball with his left hand, it's possible that he would be an even more deadly player than he is today. I mean, left-handed players are pretty rare, so they have a pretty good advantage against defenders who are used to guarding right-handed players. For a player like LeBron, this could be a pretty ridiculous advantage. Detroit Pistons superstar Richard Hamilton has not been called by his legal first name since the mid-90s. Many NBA fans actually believe that his nickname Rip is his real name. As a matter of fact, a majority of people thought he was given the name because he would rip his opponents to shreds on the basketball court. However, many fans don't even know how he got the name to begin with. Richard Hamilton actually got his nickname from his dad, who is also named Richard. Richard's father first had the nickname as a baby because he would often rip his diapers. So when he had his first son, not only did he give him the same name, but he also passed down the legendary nickname. Back when Meta World Peace was still known as Ron Artest and was drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the 1999 NBA draft, he decided to apply for a part-time job at an electronics company called Circuit City. The job was located in the suburbs of Chicago, which Artest figured would be a great place to make a little extra cash while still pursuing his dreams as a professional basketball player. Although Circuit City isn't even in business anymore, it's still kind of surprising that he applied for a minimum wage job when he could have been spending that extra time working on his game. It's also pretty crazy considering how much NBA players were making in just a season's worth of playing. But then again, we're talking about Ron Artest, the same guy who legally had his name changed to Meta World Peace, so I guess anything's possible. During the 1987-1988 NBA season, the Washington Bullets had both the tallest and shortest players in NBA history on the same roster. These players were 7'7" Manute Bol and 5'3" Muggsy Bogues. Although Manute was extremely tall, he was actually an underrated three-point shooter. Muggsy, on the other hand, was an underrated shot blocker, especially considering his size and position. As a matter of fact, he blocked 39 shots for his entire career on players much taller than him. It's hard to believe that someone with a height of 5'3" even made it to the NBA. After 19 years of playing in the NBA, Shaquille ONeal scored 28,596 points. As an NBA fan, it's fun to imagine how many three-pointers he has made within all of these points, especially considering how the big man position has evolved since his retirement. The answer is simple: only one. He's broken more backboards than three-pointers made. His one made three-pointer was in a regular season game during the 1995-1996 NBA season. On February 16th, 1996, the Orlando Magic were playing against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Magic inbounded the ball with only 2 seconds left. Shaq got the ball from the three-point line and tossed it in for a bank shot. Throughout his entire career, Shaquille ONeal has attempted 22 three-pointers, with this being the only one he has ever made. Luckily for him, that shot gave him a three-point shooting percentage of .045. That's better than nothing in my opinion, especially considering he was a center. Plus, it's not like he was bad in every other aspect. He obviously retired as one of the greatest centers to ever play the game, so yeah. As arguably one of the greatest players of his generation, Kobe Bryant has played a leading role in helping the Los Angeles Lakers win time and time again. As a teenager, Bryant excelled at the sport of basketball and therefore decided to skip college and enter the NBA draft straight from high school. He was selected 13th overall by Charlotte in 1996, but the Lakers had already worked out a deal with the Hornets to acquire Bryant prior to his selection. So on July 1st, 1996, Kobe was picked up by the Lakers. At the time, he was just 17 years old. Since Kobe Bryant was still not considered a legal adult by the time he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets and traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, his parents had to co-sign his contract on his behalf until he turned 18 later that year. This won't be a problem for rookies anymore since you have to be at least a year removed from high school to be eligible for the draft. It's still cool to know that the Mamba's rookie contract was treated as if it was a field trip for him. Back in the 1995 NBA Finals, Shaquille O'Neal and the Orlando Magic were swept 4-0 by Hakeem and the Houston Rockets in a battle that would have been a 7-game series. Hakeem scored more than 30 points in each game of the sweep, took Shaq to school with his iconic Dream Shake, and even held Shaq below his regular season average. Regardless of this, Shaquille O'Neal still felt like he was a better individual player and that it was just his team that was bad. Since Shaq believed that he was a superior player, he decided to challenge Hakeem to a one-on-one battle. He sent Hakeem a letter so that they could play to determine who was a better player. The game was supposed to happen on September 30th, 1995 and was even going to be sponsored by Taco Bell. Unfortunately, Hakeem backed out of the event a day before it was supposed to happen and therefore it was cancelled. Michael Jordan is not the only star that was cut from his high school basketball team. As a matter of fact, former NBA All-Star and MVP Charles Barkley was cut not once but twice from his high school basketball team in Alabama. As a freshman and sophomore, he did not have the skills or size to play high school basketball. Eventually though, he did make the team and he ended up having an excellent high school career. By the time he graduated, he had a scholarship offer with Auburn University in Alabama and finally excelled as a great NBA player. Many people might not recall this incident, but back in 2003, NBA player Kinsel Woods tried to use his basketball card as ID after being pulled over by police. Kinsel Woods was pulled over by the police on March 2003 for speeding and marijuana possession. The former Portland Trailblazer, however, had no form of ID, so he offered his basketball card and 2 credit cards instead. Of course, that did not go well with the police. Woods was fined a little over $1,000 for driving without a license and speeding, but you have to give him credit for trying. At 22 years old, Carl Lewis was a 4-time long jump Olympian, 9-time gold medalist, and get this, he was a Chicago Bulls draft pick. Although Carl Lewis never played college or even high school basketball, the Chicago Bulls drafted him in the 1984 NBA draft as the 208th overall pick in the 10th round, 10 rounds after picking NBA legend Michael Jordan. Years ago, the NBA didn't only have 2 rounds in the draft. As a matter of fact, they had as many as 10 rounds. Since there weren't really that many players around that could even be drafted, teams just selected random people even if they didn't play in the NBA. Ron Weiss, a scout for the Bulls at the time, recommended Lewis because he was the best athlete available. And he might have been onto something considering just 2 months earlier, Lewis was drafted as a wide receiver in the 12th round of the 1984 NFL draft by the Dallas Cowboys. In the end, Carl Lewis never played a professional game for either sport, but it's still pretty interesting to know if you ask me. Back in 1965, NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain became the highest paid player in the league, receiving $100,000 per season after agreeing to a 3-year contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics were offering Wilt's basketball rival Bill Russell just $75,000 a season. Upon hearing how much Wilt Chamberlain was receiving, Bill Russell requested the Celtics to increase his salary higher than his. He told the Celtics he was considering retirement unless he earned more than Chamberlain. The weird part about this was that he specifically requested that his salary be $1 more than that of Wilt's, just so that he could literally be 1 step ahead of him. And so the Boston Celtics agreed, and eventually Russell got his contract, which paid him $101,000. A majority of NBA fans don't know that over 60% of NBA players lose all their money in just 5 years of retirement. It seems a bit ironic that millionaires can become broke so quickly, but it happens more often than you would think. When you think about the big houses, nice cars, and lavish lifestyle surrounding these players, it is easy to understand how the money can disappear so quickly. No wonder Latrell Sprewell was worried about feeding his family. The former All-Star who helped the Minnesota Timberwolves reach the Western Conference Finals in 2004 rejected a 3-year, $21 million contract offer because he said that he needed a raise in order to feed his family. By 2005, Latrell had overestimated his value in the league and he never collected another check from the NBA. The sad part about all of this was not the fact that he declined the offer, but that he never played for the NBA again and went bankrupt shortly after. Now that 5-time champion and 2-time MVP Tim Duncan is retired, he might be able to go back to his second favorite hobby, swimming. Before becoming a professional basketball player, Tim Duncan was a swimmer. His sister, Trisha, was an Olympic swimmer and Duncan wanted to follow in her footsteps. He was actually training to make the US men's national team for the 1992 Olympics, but a hurricane ruined his plans as it wrecked the only pool he could use. And so he decided to change hobbies and began playing basketball in the Virgin Islands in 9th grade. Of course, basketball was sort of a natural fit for Duncan since he was already close to being 7 feet tall. The hurricane might have been a blessing in disguise because he would go on to become one of the greatest players to ever put on a uniform for the San Antonio Spurs and even has 5 championships to back it up. And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, please let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching. NBA Insider.